Evolution Podcast Network's channel, Inspired Expansion. I'm your host, Gibson, and I'm honored to have a fantastic guest here today, James Aspey. James is an animal rights activist who travels internationally to speak, educate, and share his opinion to make the world a better place. He's an incredible backstory, has fantastic motivational speeches online with hundreds of thousands of views, and puts his heart and soul into his mission. Honored to have you here today. And
thanks. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And wanted to start by asking you a little bit about your story and how you got into living the vegan lifestyle.
Okay, well, I never ever grew up caring about animals or liking animals at all. So it definitely wasn't an animal thing for me. It started off where I was working on a cruise ship. I'd been a personal trainer for 8 years. And I was working there as in the gym. I met somebody who was very wise who told me that eating animals is bad karma.
Wow.
And that's what resonated with me. I thought we always needed to eat animals to be healthy. So that's what I said, no, we have to eat meat. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. And he said, no, I've been vegetarian for 20 years. You don't have to eat meat to be healthy. And I was like, what? I'm pretty sure you do. But I don't know. All right, you've been telling me you've been doing it for 20 years. Maybe there's something there. So I decided to try it for 7 days, no meat, see how I felt. And felt so good. And that sort of shocked me, totally shocked me. How could I feel good? I haven't had any protein, haven't had any iron. But
Especially as a personal trainer, right? You hear
I know, I was freaking out. Like, well, I'm vegetarian, I'm pushing it out in the gym and I'm feeling strong. This doesn't make any sense. And then I started really getting into it because I thought, is this feeling sustainable? Can I share this with my clients? Can I share this with my friends and family? I feel good. And, it was just things like better digestion after meals. Because I was eating so much meat. I was working on a cruise ship, so I was stacking my plate up with meat every meal. And that, my whole life, 3 times a day, I was eating meat. There was every meal. Could never imagine a meal without it. In fact, without meat on my plate, that was not even a meal. That was just a snack, maybe like pre-meal snack. That's it.
Wow.
And I tried it. I felt so good. I got really interested in the health side of things. So I started researching, reading books. I read an amazing book called Healing with Whole Foods. And basically, coincidentally, because I was just reading it anyway, pretty much so many of the illnesses and diseases that humans are currently faced with, especially the biggest killers, they can be reversed, prevented, or at least helped and aided by consuming an only plant diet. So I got interested for the health. And then a little bit later, as I'm still researching, learning and getting excited and sharing this knowledge with everybody, I come across a movie called Earthlings, which is a documentary that shows all the ways that humans use animals for food, for clothing, entertainment, medical testing. And I'd seen footage of animals be slaughtered before. I'd seen some pretty graphic stuff before, but it didn't touch me at all because I just felt we had to survive. So why would I feel guilty? Yeah. When I saw Earthlings and I heard their screams and I saw into their eyes and I saw it with a fresh perspective, that was the most important thing. I was watching this documentary with the question in my mind the whole time. If we don't need to kill and eat animals to survive and thrive, then what is our justification for doing this? Is there a good reason? Maybe there is. I don't know. And I looked into it and I learned that the best justifications we've got is because we like how they taste and because it's something we've done for a long time. And, it's too hard to change. And all these things that I was like, these aren't good reasons to enslave and exploit and mutilate and torture and murder these sentient beings, these innocent beings. Not even close. I like how they taste, so I'm just going to kill them. Like, well, man, eat something else. There's lots of good taste out there. You don't need to kill someone and eat their body for an enjoyable taste.
Absolutely.
And so I just like, wow, okay, I'm going to just stay vegetarian for the animals because, the health benefits are great, but this is actually a really important thing for me because I strive to be a peaceful, respectful, good person. How, I like helping people. That's why I'm a personal trainer. How can I justify my actions of paying someone else, which makes me equally responsible, paying someone else to kill for me when I don't have to? And I just said, nah, I'm vegetarian for the animals.
Good
And
for you.
then
So it started off with animals, basically. It started off with sort of, wow, I feel amazing. And then you sort of got connected to, the actual beings themselves.
Totally. And there's a really good Buddhist quote, actually. The quote is, the consumption of animal products extinguishes the seed of great compassion. And I feel like I never felt for animals, never. I'd watch slaughterhouse footage just blank, nothing. And I think because I was consuming that product of violence and killing, and it was in me, and that's what was literally recreating my cells.
Yes.
I feel like there was some sort of blockage that was stopping me from feeling for them. I don't know.
Wow. So this is an interesting perspective. So you're saying because you were consuming the animals themselves and you hadn't had this break until you sort of had that 7-day period.
Yeah.
You think that because that was recreating your cells, your body was sort of intertwined with that process, that's part of what recreates the block, maybe at a subconscious level.
Maybe, like total speculation, but that quote really rang true for me, because I really felt like, wow, how did I feel for these poor animals before? How didn't I look into their eyes and see their suffering? I was just blocked to it. Maybe I'd look into the eyes of a dog and see a dog suffering, and I'd witness that and say, oh, okay, I want to do something about this. But with a pig and a cow and a chicken and a fish, I didn't do that. I was like, I just watched the footage and went, nah, until I'd stopped consuming them for a week. Yeah. And then it was like something stirred up in me. It was also the realization that we don't need to survive. Yes. And survival is a good reason to kill. Yes. I mean, there's not many good reasons to kill, but if you have to kill to survive, fair enough. Yeah. No, I'm not going to stop you. Like, you've got to kill to survive. But really, that's the only reason we should be killing, not just, I like how their legs taste. Should we just murder them? Yeah, that's not me, man. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a murderer. And I just realized that. And then what happened after that? So that was just why I went vegetarian. Or did you have something to say?
Yeah, so where do you think this comes from? So this idea, from your research and in your opinion, where do you think this idea comes from that we do have to kill animals to survive? Is this being fed to us intentionally, or?
Oh yeah, definitely it's being fed to us intentionally. It's everywhere. You need meat for protein. That is literally what people get taught who are learning nutritional studies.
Absolutely.
They taught that that's a blatant lie. I'm alive. That's a blatant lie that they're being told. And then they go out into the field and they get clients and they tell their clients, just like I did as a personal trainer, there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian or a vegan. You need to eat meat to be healthy.
Absolutely. Or you need calcium for strong bones.
Right. And you do need calcium for strong bones, but you don't need calcium from cow's milk, because you're not a baby cow and there's calcium in countless foods. What a great marketing strategy, though. You need calcium for cow's milk. Everybody knows that. Dairy for calcium, meat for protein,
Absolutely.
And yes, it is most definitely I've been thinking of it lately. I don't know if this is the correct terminology, but this is how I've been thinking of it. This is like a death cult. This is like a huge death cult, a worldwide death cult, where almost everybody on the planet is consuming the products of murder. Not only consuming it, but paying for it to happen. So almost everybody around the world is like, yeah, I'm an animal lover. 99% of people are animal lovers. And then 3 times a day they go, hey, I'll just have a pig and like chicken menstruation burger, please. And then they get this chopped up body part of this poor, innocent, sweet animal, and they pat their dog. I love animals. And they eat this body part of this other animal they just pay to have killed. And if they saw a bird struggling on the road, they'd be straight over with their chicken. Oh my God, this poor bird! Like, what do I do? And so it's like a death cult, right? And because I was in it, and I don't mean disrespect to anybody still in the cult.
Absolutely.
But I just got to this because people say like vegans are in a cult. I'm like, what do you mean? We're just trying to not hurt animals anymore. We're just trying to cause the least harm as practically possible. Like, other people, and just this is me as well. So it's all, you know, I get it, but we have big feasts where we celebrate with dead bodies on our table and stolen breast milk from cows and chicken menstruations from these birds that have been exploited, and we kill over a billion, that's 1,000 million land animals every single week, 1 billion murders a week, right? And so it's like, this is a death cult, and almost everyone's paying for it.
And when you say it like that, it's unquestionably true, right? Like, oh, Thanksgiving, let's all get together and celebrate. And you think of these things and they're just our norm. But, you know, death cult sounds like this really charged language, but it's true.
I know.
It's the truth. So
it is. And can I just say one more thing about that? And
absolutely.
Then there's the dogma. You need meat for protein. Mm-hmm. You need dairy for calcium. And we kill animals humanely. You can be an animal lover and still consume the murdered body parts of these animals. Don't worry, it's free range. And there's all this dogma. There's all these lies. What about plants? What about free range? What about iron? If we don't kill and eat animals, they'll kill and eat us. There's all these things, right? And I've been all over the world talking about this. Yeah. All over the world, they got the same list of like
questions and justifications, right? And everything. Yes. Yeah.
And so they've got.
We're gonna run through a lot of these today, but sorry, keep going.
It's so much fun. And so we've all got this list of dogma that we've been conditioned to believe is true. And so the dogma, basically, the bottom line of it is this: there is no other way to live. If you try to get out of this cult, you'll die, because you need the way that this cult consumes. If you don't consume like us, you'll die. And that's what I believe as a personal trainer for 8 years. If you don't consume meat or other animal products, you will not be healthy, and ultimately you'll get sick and die.
You'll waste away. Yeah.
So it's freaky. It's freaky when you think of it like that. And we're talking about multi-trillion dollars you can't even understand from these industries. They've got so much money that they know exactly how to feed this to us in this way that makes us, oh, okay, yeah, we should get a Big Mac burger today. We should drink this. We should have more milk. Do we have
Absolutely.
Milk? Got milk? Like, yeah, they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And as somebody who studies a lot of the subconscious mind, you know, the subconscious is programmed through repetition. And so if we're watching television and there's, you know, these repetitive commercials, or if we're just surrounded by people who are repetitively engaging in this behavior, it just becomes this conditioned norm. Our subconscious is forced to accept it into its reality until we start learning how to question our perspectives about these things.
Yeah.
And
it's very normal. That's the weirdest thing. That was the weirdest thing for me. When I've only told you how I got up to being vegetarian, and sometimes I do a speech and then I forget to tell people about the vegan part. I'm like, oh my God, I missed the most important part. So remind me to get back to that in a second. But that's what shocked me when I went vegan. The biggest shock for me was how few vegans there are.
Yes.
And when I realized how many people hate animal cruelty or just aren't violent people in general, what shocked me is that vegans like a couple of % of the population, and 99% of people would say that they're against animal cruelty. Mm-hmm. So it should be the opposite. It should be 99% vegan world, and we're just really trying to get that last 1% to stop murdering our brothers and sisters on this planet. Like, please just stop murdering. You know, it should be just that 1% left to get, but it's the opposite. And that blew my mind in a big way. And that's why I think it's more obvious about like the strategic way that this machine is geared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go on to that before we move into everything else. What's the end of the story about how you became vegan?
Okay, so I decided to do a 10-day meditation, of a Vipassana meditation. Mm-hmm. And at the meditation, I had an idea to do a year-long vow of silence, not speak for a whole year. And I thought, what could I do this for? Maybe I could do it for animals. So then I started thinking more about animals. Yeah, I could do it for them. You know, they're voiceless, I'll be voiceless, that kind of thing. Which I don't believe anymore that animals are voiceless, but that's another story.
Beautiful.
They have a voice. They're always screaming. They're always crying. We're just blocked off to certain species screams. Yeah, we listen to certain species like dolphins and whales and but not others. And that's called speciesism. And we should talk about that as well if there's time.
Wow.
And we should really talk about that because that's like the root cause of this entire issue. Okay, you're right.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So then I started planning to do a vow of silence for animals for a whole year, and I needed to get more educated. And that's when I revisited the dairy industry, the egg industry, leather, wool, silk, products that contain animal products that have been tested on animals, places that use and exploit animals like a circus or like SeaWorld or something like that. Yeah. And that's when I realized, why am I just not eating meat? I'm against animal cruelty, right? Am I? Because if you are, then you shouldn't.
That should cover all bases.
Dairy. Yeah, like all animal products come from animal use, and all animal use is a form of exploitation and abuse. We shouldn't be using them. That's violating their fundamental right to be their own being and do what they want to do. We shouldn't be exploiting them. We shouldn't be using them. We shouldn't be forcibly impregnating them in the dairy industry. We shouldn't be doing anything to them that isn't for their best interest. If it's to help them, then we can intervene. And that's when I realized, man, I'm against cruelty across the board. I want to avoid contributing to that as much as practically possible. And I'm not just against cruelty to beef cows, which is all I'd stopped eating, or meat, in general. There's at least as much cruelty in dairy as there is in eggs as there is in meat. It's all the same. It's all exactly the same.
And it's almost like, what would you rather if you were a person? Would you rather to be killed or tortured? Right? And to live this terrible life. I almost would just rather, you see what
I'd way rather be an animal used for my meat than an animal used for my milk. They live longer and suffer more, and that's a lot of the time, vast majority of the time, that's the case. So then I decided, man, I got to stop being a hypocrite. Am I a peaceful, respectful, chill person? Am I paying someone to harm and use and abuse these vulnerable beings? Like, I'm not a bully, and that's the act of a bully. And that is not, I'm trying to be a good human. That is not the act of a good human either. When you know better, you should do better. And I couldn't claim to be ignorant anymore. So then I decided, shit, man, I need to go vegan. And I was like, holy hell, how did this happen to me? Because I didn't even like animals a couple of months ago. And now I'm becoming vegan, like one of those extreme vegans. What? I'm just trying to backtrack. I'm like, hang on a second, is this really where I'm at? But it was the only thing that made sense, because being vegan is just someone who doesn't consume any animal products. Basically, we just don't. A vegan is someone who doesn't participate in the exploitation and unnecessary suffering and killing of animals. And animals are us. We're humans. Absolutely. Humans are animals. It's just extending a circle of compassion to all species. Absolutely. Not just to dogs, not just to humans, but extending a circle of compassion to all beings. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Why would we choose a couple to be compassionate to and not others? It makes no sense. So that's when I knew I needed to be vegan. It didn't happen straight away because it was a little bit hard. I was really addicted to ice cream, and like literally addicted. Like, I actually had a bad eating disorder around this time of my life, and veganism helped a lot. I was like really bulimic, which stemmed from when I was 17. I had cancer, and I ate a lot of food because I was on a high dose of steroids, part of the chemotherapy they gave me. And then that led to like binge eating, and then eventually that led to bulimia. And that was like a real hard thing for me to give up dairy, because it was like very much a comfort food for me, and very,
And so if you can do that, I mean, bulimia is really centered in food addiction, right? Like there's all kinds of stuff in there neurochemically, and there's, that's a whole different topic. But
for me,
so if you can do that as somebody who's addicted, then that gives everybody permission to go through that process. But sorry, go ahead. For you, the biggest
Totally. I was just gonna say, for me, bulimia was like a very much tied to emotional eating. That was the biggest root cause of it for me. It wasn't like a body thing. It was just like an emotional eating. Yeah. And I couldn't stop myself. But
you're stuffing your emotions, right?
Totally, exactly right. And a lot of people have different troubles with going vegan at first, but honestly, the biggest trouble is still a fairly small hurdle for almost everybody. And it's nothing compared to what the animals are going through. Yeah. Not even in the same dimension almost.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, anyone can do it. absolutely. And yeah, it took me a little bit of time, like to find some recipes and to go, oh, there actually is vegan ice cream. And, you know, it just took me a little while to, I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't know there was like, this is, you know, coming up to 5 years ago now. So I wasn't aware of how much was going on, and there wasn't as much going on in the movement. A lot has happened in the last 5 years. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. So I decided to go vegan, and that started the day I started my vow of silence, which I ended up doing and traveled around Australia for the year to raise awareness for animals, and that was a really good action.
And what inspired the vow of silence to begin with? I have to ask. I mean, 360 days in silence, 365 days, I'm sorry, in silence is pretty profound.
It's a bloody long time. I was at the Vipassana meditation, which is a meditation course inspired by the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah. And it is 10 days of no speaking and meditating like 10, 11 hours a day.
Amazing.
And it was on the 5th day I was there, and I was just trying to do my thing, trying to meditate. And then I got this really strong sensation come over me, and it felt like it was my body trying to get me to say something, just let something out.
Yes.
And then it made me wonder, how long could you do this for? How long could you not speak? Imagine not speaking for another month. Imagine not speaking for a whole year. And then I was like, well, that would be kind of cool. Maybe I could do that to raise awareness for something I care about. What do I care about? Well, my newfound passion for animals is definitely something I care about, because the one of the biggest reasons why I felt like why I cared so much is because I felt like I discovered this massive secret. Yeah. Like, it's killing people. It's killing people. It's killing our friends and family. And because we kill them, and then they kill us with heart disease and cancer, and diabetes and obesity and all these things, right? Yeah. So it's like, oh my God, my family, like, I've discovered this big secret for my friends and family and clients that it's going to help them all so much. It might add a decade or even more to their life. This is big. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, there's that. And then there's the environmental stuff. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation and species extinction and habitat loss and ocean dead zones and greenhouse gas emissions and water pollution and all of these disasters.
And we learn almost nothing about this until we research it, which is pretty interesting.
Totally, isn't it? Yeah. Fossil fuels. It's like, yeah, that's a problem, but not a big a problem as trying to fit all these animals on this planet and create land to make food for all these animals on this planet, and then get all this food to them and feed them all this food, and then kill them and do something with all their waste. Like, this is we feed animals 6 to 12 times more food than what we can take from them. So we give them all this food.
Yes.
Heaps. And then we get back this tiny little bit, because this is the food that I like to taste. And meanwhile, there's 20,000 children dying every day of starvation and malnutrition.
Absolutely.
I've
read that, and I might be butchering this fact a little bit, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like the animal industry, the meat and dairy industries, cause more harm to the environment than the entire transportation industries combined. So cars, planes, everything. And we don't hear this information.
No, not at all. They're like, take a shorter shower. You know, save water, take a short shower. If you don't eat one burger, like with one patty and one piece of cheese, that's 3 months worth of showering.
Yeah. So
one burger, have a shorter shower. How about stop eating animal products and actually save the planet? And then they won't. Here's the really funny thing, and this is the conspiracy. They won't say that because they say it's because people are too far away from that. That'll never happen. It's like, is that really why? Or is it because you're being paid to mention other things and not this? Like, people will change. A lot of people care about the environment. A lot of people do want to do good. And if the largest environmental organizations aren't going to tell us what we need to do, we're looking at them. Okay, everything's messed up. What do we do? And they're like, well, you could have a shorter shower. It's like, well, that's annoying. You know, that's an annoying thing that I have to do. So why wouldn't I do this other thing? It was like, do you know what would be really beneficial? Do you know what would actually save everything? Is if you just stopped eating animal products. Go vegan. Don't worry. There's vegan burgers. There's vegan cheese.
Everything.
Vegan ice cream. There's vegan cookies. There's vegan pasta. Don't worry. You don't even have to change what you eat. just get the vegan version of your same food and it's delicious and tastes the same and it's way healthier and it will save the planet. People will be like, okay, so where do I buy it? Same supermarket you're already shopping. What aisle? Like, that's all you got to change. What aisle you go to, and you've got it.
Absolutely. So can we talk about that for a moment? So can we talk about just what's happening? I don't want to stay here too long because, you know, one thing I really appreciated when I watched a speech of yours was that, you know, I'm not a big advocate of being against the problem. It's much more realistic and practical to be for the solution, right? Because anything you're fighting, you're feeding. And I noticed that in the way that you are an activist, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Thanks.
And so I don't want to spend too much time here, but what is happening? How come we're not getting these messages? I think if you asked, you know, 100 people on the street about, hey, you know, are you aware of how this industry is impacting the environment? Are you aware of how much water is used to make one single burger? Are you aware? I think most people don't have access to this until there's research Yeah, and so it's, of course, then it's really difficult for people not to be in denial because they don't even have the facts for the other side of what's happening. So can we talk about this for a second? You know, some of these facts in general, and then also, you know, who's doing this or what's going on here, so people, you know, can research this and have awareness.
Yes. Okay, I agree. It's not good to focus on the problem too much. I don't do that anymore. Even just talking about it now, I start to feel nauseous because I've seen so much and learned so much, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I don't focus on that. I focus on, let's do this because this is the solution to all of that mess. But it's so important for people to
first have the awareness.
Aware of it. Yes, you've got to get aware of it. Otherwise, you're not going to be motivated to change.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's going to be so hard. I could never do it. It's like, if you just knew what I knew, you do it like that because you would have every reason to, and it would become an important priority in your life.
Yes.
So, okay, what's happening? Like, I always think, you know, you can easily find what's happening environmentally and health stuff. If you go to, there's 2 easy resources that will give you so much information. I'm just going to tell you them because I'd rather talk about the animals.
Beautiful.
If you go to cowspiracy.com/facts,
beautiful.
They have studies listed and so many facts about what's happening. They estimate by the year 2048 there will be fishless oceans, like about like we already talked about, how much food we waste, how much extra land it is, up to 1,000 times more water is used. All of these type of facts are there, and it's a great resource. So cowspiracy.com/facts.
And it's a great documentary too.
It is an incredible documentary.
Yeah.
A great documentary as well, and in a similar format where there's like a bullet point fact and then the studies that back it up, is whatthehealthmovie.com/facts. Again, whatthehealthmovie.com/facts. And then it's got, you know, like how many people have diabetes and the increasing rate, and that 14 out of 15 of the biggest killers can be at least helped in being reduced by consuming a whole food plant-based diet compared to what most people are eating, which is animal-based diet. There's the studies about how the oldest populations on the planet are thriving predominantly, at least, on plant-based diets. There are studies on, you know, the only diet that has been proven to reverse heart disease, which is the #1 killer, is a whole foods plant-based diet. So that alone, let's just talk one thing about that alone. The biggest killer, the thing that
takes the most lives.
Yes. Most people that we know are going to die from this.
Yeah.
And we can reverse it by consuming a plant-based diet. In the majority of patients, it can be reversed in the majority of patients.
And there is a ton of research to back this up. This isn't like, oh, this could happen or theoretical. This is real stuff.
And that is incredible. Like, that is incredible that this diet can have such a powerful effect on the biggest killer that humans are faced with. That's phenomenal. And that's why it should be the default diet. It also, whole food plant-based diet compared to the standard diet, there's less nutrient deficiencies on average, And the only thing you have to worry about, just while we're talking about it, the only thing you have to worry about is B12. Everybody should take B12. The reason why B12 isn't found in vegan foods is only because of the way that the food these days is sanitized and treated. B12 is a vitamin made by bacteria in the soil or sometimes in water. And so it would naturally be on carrots and things like that, but because of how we wash it, how we kill it all, it's not there. The reason why it's in animals is because they supplement it with their feed, or they inject it directly into their body. So you're just filtering that nutrient through somebody else's body. If you take it directly, if you take one spray under the tongue once every couple of days, a tablet every few days, something like that, that's all you have to do. It literally takes a second. So you don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Now, what do you have to, so that's it. What do you have to worry about when you consume animal products? Cholesterol, saturated fats, hormones, high concentrated doses of pesticides. We feed 80% of the antibiotics in the world to farmed animals. And this isn't making them healthy. This is stopping them from getting very sick. And this is where they see this is like the breeding ground for superbugs.
Yes.
There's all this antibiotics going into these animals, all these antibiotics going to the people who consume them. And like big bad things happen. Okay,
Absolutely.
so they're the places to go to learn the facts on the health. Wait, let me say one more. Let me say one more on the health thing, because that's a really important thing. Because a lot of people don't think that their biggest sticking point is, but can I do this healthily? And also another documentary to watch is Forks Over Knives. It's based on the largest study ever conducted on the relationship between nutrition and disease. And the bottom line, after decades of research, is that the optimal amount of animal products in the human body is 0. And the optimal diet for a human body to live and thrive is a whole food plant-based diet.
Wow.
So that's called Forks Over Knives. And if you go to the recipe section on the Forks Over Knives website, you'll get the healthiest, deliciousest.
Beautiful.
All right, so that's it. Now, if you don't want to be healthy as a vegan, cool. I don't really care. Eat whatever you want. Just don't eat animals. Just don't hurt someone else so you can have a meal. You don't have to enjoy a meal at the expense of someone's life.
Seriously.
So you can still have burgers and whatever else. Okay, all that's done. Now the animals. What is happening to the animals?
Okay, wait. Can I ask a couple quick questions in here first?
Yeah.
So let's say people are watching this and they hear all this information and they're like, "Wow, this is fantastic information," and then there's the typical objections you hear from people.
Yeah.
So what about we're going to run through a couple of them just really quickly because, maybe somebody's watching this and in their head, they do have these objections. So let's talk about them, and share this information. So what about the people who say, but our digestive systems are designed to eat animals. We're supposed to be eating animals.
We can eat animals. We can eat animals. That's like saying our lungs are designed to smoke cigarettes. If we smoke them, we're going to increase our chances of getting very, very sick. We can smoke them.
Yep.
We can smoke them. We can eat meat. Yeah, you can do it. But the likelihood of you getting cancer or heart disease from it is very much increased.
Absolutely.
So just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Now, our body, our physiology isn't that of a carnivore or an omnivore. We're not going to chase down prey and claw into them. We're not going to bite into just because they're called canines. Good luck biting into a cow with these things. It's the tiniest little point.
Even to think about something like that.
And that's another thing.
Right?
That's another thing. If you watch slaughterhouse footage and feel sick and you have to turn away, or if you feel any disgust,
that's your natural feedback system.
Right? You don't salivate and get excited by the idea of eating a freshly murdered being.
Oh, yeah.
No, you don't want to just rip in there like a lion does. You want to cook it, you want to season it, you want to disguise it with a bunch of other plants, and then it's palatable. Yeah. And even if you found it totally delicious, right? So
you
what?
mean biting into the live flesh? Is that?
I loved eating meat. I loved ribs and I loved lamb chops. Baby. What was I doing? But that's what I loved eating. I loved it all though. And yeah, it's just because I enjoyed that how we cooked it and all that. It's our physiology is not that. We have long intestines, the way we sweat, the digestive enzymes in our mouth, the way our teeth are, the way we look at animals. We look at them and, oh, I want to help this poor animal, it's injured, or, you know, oh, look how beautiful she is. We don't look at a dog and be like, I just got a little bit hungry. Yum, like, yum. You know, we don't do that because we're not, that's not us. We are compassionate. For the most part, we want to help them, not hurt them. And they're, for the most part, at least as we're growing up as kids, they're our friends, not our food. All our favorite books are about animals. And then mum doesn't tell you, you know, you're eating a chicken nugget and you're like, is this a real chicken, mum? Yeah. And she's like, no.
Yeah.
No. It's just from the store. It's from the store. You're like, all right. And, you know, the disconnect just starts so young.
Absolutely. But, and I've seen many children too, right? As kids who, you know, this happened with my much younger sister. And it was like, you know, my mother's trying to feed her chicken and she's like 2-3 years old and she's chewing it and trying to spit it out. And I think fundamentally, you know, we're not even programmed to be that way. It's just that at such a young age, we're exposed to these things. And of course, it just becomes the norm. Right.
Yep, I agree with that for the most part. And then there's probably some kids who just love meat right off the bat, next to raw with no seasoning. Okay, maybe they're out there too. Who cares? Like, just because you enjoy something, one doesn't mean you need to eat it for your health. Your body, that you having these teeth, it doesn't mean, okay, well, I have teeth that have a little point on the end, so I have to eat meat. I have to. It's like you have a choice, man. You have a supermarket down the road. You have an abundance of options. The biggest canines of any animal are on a herbivore. So that doesn't mean anything anyway. Yeah. But yeah, and we live longer. Like, nature is telling us, eat like this, you live and thrive. The planet thrives, the animals thrive. Eat like this, you destroy your life, you destroy their lives, you destroy any home for life on this planet. Like, it's very, very clear what the right path is to walk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. So what were the other objections? I still want to talk about the animals. What's happening to them?
I promise we'll go to the animals.
Okay. Cool.
So do you think on some level as well, just as a side note before we finish the objections, do you think on some level as well, eating meat affects our frequency, like our vibration?
100%.
For people?
Yes.
Because from personal experience, I felt you feel lighter, you feel happier, you feel everything, you feel your emotions more as well. I notice when you shift out of that diet, and there's all these beautiful positive impacts that come out of it, and we get more in touch with ourselves and our own body, I think, when we're not, you know, just storing and eating dead flesh, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you know, is that something that I can prove tangibly to? No, but one thing I know is that I've spoken to thousands of vegans, and they all will tell you, if you ask them, what's one of the best things you ever did? They'll all tell you, when I went vegan. Because we have these core, this is why I believe it is, we have these core values of peace, of kindness, of respect, of justice, of helping those who need help. You know, like this is in our core, this is our most important stuff.
The world, I think. Yeah.
This is our most important stuff. This is non-violence. Like, non-violence is one of the most important things.
Yes.
That all of us can agree with. And then 3 times a day we go against that our most fundamental core value.
Yeah.
And then when you go vegan, you finally live in alignment with that core value that you never truly lived in alignment with before. Even if you're ignorant to it, you still weren't. And when you become aware of it, so you shine light on this very, very dark, brutal, violent practice that you're doing 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing like that in anybody's life. 3 times a day, though, we're all violent murderers, or we're paying someone to be one, and that makes us, like, that's huge. That is such a big deal. It's such a big deal. You go vegan.
It's so interesting when you say it like that too, because you're right. Like, it's up until the point where you have this newfound awareness, or you gain access to this kind of information, or people around, or these discussions. It's like there's just this shadow part of you that is violent and a murder 3 times a day, and it's like, not even aware.
Totally. And it's, you know, vegans aren't perfect. Like, there's still animals harmed in the making of this and that, and you can't be perfect. And that's not what vegans are claiming. It's just about causing the least amount of harm as practically possible.
Absolutely.
And that's all anyone can do. You can't be a perfect, non-harming anyone being.
Absolutely. And I think, some people will say, okay, so I'm going to give you another objection. Some people will say, oh, I'm just one person, I'm just one person. It doesn't really make a difference. Animals are being harmed anyways. And what would you say to that?
You're not just one person. You go vegan, you're joining millions of other people who are making a difference. If everyone's just like, oh, none of us will make a difference. Well, will you not buying meat at your supermarket make a difference? Maybe, probably not. It's quite negligible. But if everyone in your your friends start stopping, and then your family starts stopping, and then I stop and my family stops, and then I do a speech that gets millions of views, and then thousands of people stop, and then they inspire other people, and then thousands more people stop. This is how change has to happen.
Absolutely.
We all have to do our part. Every single person is a vital member of the human race. You're a consumer, and you are paying for products of exploitation and killing, or you're paying for products of peace and respect to the best that we can. And there's no third option. There's non-vegan choices, there's animal products, or there's plant-based products, there's vegan, and there's no third. There's no what about free range? What about humanely slaughtered? They all end up at a slaughterhouse. They all end up getting stabbed in the throat, cut. Their throat gets cut, this big machine gun, boom. Or they get put into a gas chamber and they suffocate. It burns them from the inside out, and they thrash and they scream to death. Or if you're a little boy chick, there's little yellow babies.
Little grinders.
If they are born, because they don't produce eggs, they go off a conveyor belt, they drop into it's called a macerator. And it's just like these shredded, these blades that just shred them to death.
Like a blender.
It's very much like a blender, and so this is, I can't remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
We were talking about
humane slaughter. It doesn't matter how you kill them. It doesn't matter how you murder. If I murder a human in their sleep and they don't feel a thing, I'm still going down for murder. I still rob them of their most precious gift, their life. And there's no getting around that with any animal product. Even, let's say, wool. Yeah, they shear them for a while, and then when they don't produce as much wool anymore, they kill them. So they use them. They enslave them. They use them as property. I own you. Produce. You're not producing enough anymore. Boom, and they kill them. And that's how it goes. And here's just another thing, touching on the energy thing that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Do I feel a different energy being vegan? I 100% do. I feel much better in countless ways. But let's talk about the world. Oh, and I want to get back onto one person.
And may I add one little thing in here as well?
Sure.
I think we have this sort of notion that somebody's gonna, we see all these superhero movies as kids, right? And it's somebody comes in and saves the day, and that's how real change happens. And I think it's sort of this big lie that we receive, and I think fundamentally there's no one person that comes in and changes everything. It's up to each person to take accountability for themselves in their lives, and that's the only way that real change is going to happen. So just to add to that initial question of I hear people say a lot, oh, it's happening anyways, so might as well just enjoy what I want to eat. And it's no, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
That's right. And that's the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. I can't stop a war in another country. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know what to do. There's so much happening in this world that's bad. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I'm not connected to that child abuse over there. I'm not connected to that war over there. I'm not paying for it to happen, as far as I'm aware. If I the war against animals, the 76 billion land animals that are murdered every year, and almost 3 trillion sea animals that are killed every year.
Wow.
I was responsible for part of that. And there's nothing
supported with your dollars, right?
I was creating a demand for those products, and that's why they bred these animals into existence, to fill the demand that I and many others were creating. And we are seeing change. All these people coming together and saying, no, that's not right. Mm-hmm. We are seeing change. We are seeing the dairy industry starting to struggle, and the biggest threat to them, I read this the other day in one of their meetings, the biggest threat to the dairy industry, which is the worst, is vegan activism. Vegan activism
Wow.
is working. Yes, that is the biggest
Wow.
threat.
Because people,
And all
people
we're
are getting
doing,
in touch with the truth, right? Like it's
right? We're just telling them the truth. I'm not lying. I'm not embellishing it. I don't have to. They forcibly impregnate them. They shove their arm into a cow's anus to grab her cervix, and then they inject her vagina with bull semen, which they got from.
ugh,
Often, what they do is anally electrocute a bull and then collect the semen, and then they take it, they put it in a syringe, and then they inject it into this cow. And they restrain her. She doesn't give consent for this. She doesn't give consent to be made pregnant or have semen injected into her. Humans just do it. Standard legal practice. That's what happens. And, oh man, I went on a tangent again like that.
but it's
Yeah, I can't remember what I
interesting
was
to
talking
put
about.
it. It's okay. It's interesting to put it into perspective, right? I mean, if we think about, oh, would you do that to another human being?
Of
It's
course.
just like
No way.
disgusting. It's
If we
really
thought about doing it
disgusting.
to a dog, if you heard about someone doing it to a
Disgusting.
dog, but the dairy industry, it's business as usual. Now I remember what we're talking about. One person makes a difference. So that is because we're collectively coming together and moving our choices. That's why McDonald's brought out a McVegan. That's why restaurants are closing and then reopening vegan. That's why we're seeing vegan meat and vegan cheese and vegan options everywhere. That's why veganism is in the mainstream.
Everywhere.
Because people are just like, you know what? I want to be part of the solution, not the problem. I'm going to go vegan. And you do it. And you might not do it overnight. Maybe it'll take you a few weeks. Maybe it'll take you a few months. But you just start walking in that direction. At least just make the changes you can. Start having vegan breakfast. Start having, after that, a vegan lunch and a vegan breakfast. And then dinner. Or just have a vegan meal a week and then a couple of vegan meals a week. Do whatever you got to do. Or do it overnight. Do it overnight. That would be the best.
Go for
You
it.
can. It's not even that hard. Like, it's so much harder than people. It's so much harder in people's heads than what it actually is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you give for like 2 or 3 main tips for people who are, let's say, either trying to go vegetarian or just go from vegetarian to vegan? What are some tips that you have for people?
Okay, I'll just say, like, if you're going vegetarian, make sure it's a stepping stone, because going vegetarian, what I did, I started eating more dairy, more eggs, and I was just moving the suffering from these animals that I was eating to these animals that I was eating different things. So that's not the answer. Vegetarianism is not the answer. It's just, you might as well stop eating eggs, you might as well just stop eating dairy, you might as well just stop eating meat.
Yeah.
You know,
But I mean, if that's where people are starting, like
if
as
they
they
want to
make
start,
this transition.
that's totally fine. Start wherever you want. What I would suggest is joining a mentor program, totally free. It's called challenge22.com. And then you can get it's a free vegan challenge. They give you everything. Every question you've got, just write it. You get answers straight away. For 22 days, you have a personal mentor for free. You're part of a group for that. You get recipes, you get health info, everything you need, shopping lists. Easy. There's tons of that online. There's another one called veganeasy.org, 30-day vegan challenge. These are things you can do to just dive in and just, it's step by step broken down. This is what you buy. This is what you cook. Here's some recipes. Go for it. It's no harder.
And do you recommend that people go and they watch? I mean, you know, for me, the game changer was really seeing, you know, watching YouTube videos. And like, you know what? If I'm going to be eating, I might as well investigate. And do you recommend doing that, or can we get around?
Of course I do. You can get around it, but if you want to be really motivated, it's not just about, it is about getting motivated, but just see it. Like, think about this, right? The other day, it was the first time I've ever been inside a slaughterhouse. I'm not allowed inside a slaughterhouse in my country. I can't see how food is produced.
Wow.
They don't even let people inside to see what they put into their body 3 times a day. No, you're not allowed here. So most people haven't even seen it, you know? And isn't that incredible that we've eaten this thing 3 times a day, but most of us don't really know what happens, haven't really thought about it. So I'd say definitely yes. Like, watch, see how it makes you feel. Watch the documentary Earthlings. Watch, that's on the ethics. Watch Cowspiracy, that's on the environment. Watch Forks Over Knives, that's on the health. That's well-rounded. And then you could watch a speech, maybe a speech by Gary Yourofsky called Best Speech Ever. Best speech you'll ever hear. Very powerful. I don't agree with everything this man said, but this guy, his speech is phenomenal. And in the speech, everything he says, I agree. He absolutely nails it. And it's a very convincing argument, because there is no argument against veganism. There's no good argument in favor of continuing the cruelty.
Yes.
It's
And you have some
unnecessary.
fantastic speeches as well.
Thanks. I got a speech. My speech it's got like 13 million views now, and it's called
Wow.
This Speech is Your Wake Up Call. Yeah, the speech.
Beautiful.
That's on my
30 million
YouTube.
views. That says a lot
Yeah,
about where consciousness is moving towards too, right?
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, so you asked me 3 tips. One, I would
Yeah.
say you could join some sort of program like Challenge 22.
Mm-hmm.
2, I would say get educated,
Mm-hmm.
watch those documentaries when you have some time. And 3, if all that's a little bit too much effort for you, why don't you just start by buying soy or rice or almond or coconut or hazelnut or oat milk instead of cow's milk? This is often how easy it is to be vegan. You go to the supermarket, you walk down the same aisle, you reach for the cow's milk, and then you just go, I'm not a baby cow, I just remembered, I've just been learning about this. And then you just go over here and you just buy the soy milk. And
soy milk tastes great. There's cashew milk and there's almond milk
they're
and there's all
so
kinds of
good.
delicious.
Soy milk is actually incredible. So I'm just saying, like, if that could be your first thing that you do, start buying that milk. Just a little step, a little movement forward. The studies show that you make a little step, you're likely to make another. You're likely to make another, and if that's your way, that's fine. Do it.
Beautiful.
So you could do that, and instead of when you go and get Mexican food, instead of getting sour cream, get guacamole. And saying you're getting a burrito, instead of getting the minced meat, why don't you just get the black beans? I guarantee you're going to love your burrito. You're going to feel better after. No animals had to die. You're going to be healthier. It's going to be delicious. Probably cheaper as well. So just little changes like that. If you go to, you want to have ice cream. Instead of buying a tub of ice cream, blend a few frozen bananas, peeled, of course. This is the best recipe I ever learned. They should teach this day 1 in little kids' school. If you peel and then freeze a few ripe bananas, chop them up, blend them up with a little bit, like a splash of soy milk. That is banana ice cream. It's delicious. Put a bit of peanut butter with it, a few blueberries or something. It's healthy. It's delicious. No sentient beings had to be forcibly impregnated, have their babies taken from her, have the baby boys get their throat cut, and then have the baby girls have the same fate as their mother and all end up at a slaughterhouse. It's just bananas. It's not cows. It's not loving, breathing, sentient animals. Can I touch on this for a second? I always saw animals as so different than me. I'm an animal, you're an animal. Every human is an animal. They have eyes, they have ears, they have a mouth, they have a heart, they have a brain, they have feelings, they have families, they raise their children, they build houses, they live, like they breathe, they sleep, they do it all. They got blood, they got bones. They're us in a different bodysuit. Absolutely. Who cares what their heart is covered in? Who cares what their brain is covered in? It's in there. And just because they're more vulnerable, and they're vulnerable like children. Just because they're vulnerable like children doesn't mean we should dominate them. Doesn't mean we should exploit them and torture them because they can't tell us in words that we're willing to hear how much they're suffering. Who cares? Oh, they're just fish. They're just, it's like, just have some respect have some compassion for their life. Absolutely. And that's all that veganism is. It is the golden rule in action. It is treating others the way that you would want to be treated. Absolutely. That's all it is. And those others include other species. And that's what speciesism is. Speciesism is deciding that certain species are more valuable than others. Dogs, dolphins, whales, important. Humans, obviously, we're at the top. Of course, how convenient we're at the top, right? Because we've decided that we are. Yeah. There's millions of species of animals. And we have put cows, pigs, and chickens and fish and other animals so low value that us enjoying a momentary taste sensation is more valuable than them living their life and them having the right to live their life and express life through themselves. We're like, take it away, and we kill them and end it for them. But then we'll breed another one with the same plan to execute them. And that is very sadistic. And that is not part of a utopian world. That is not part of a peaceful, compassionate world where we're murdering trillions of animals every year.
Absolutely. And
not even close.
As somebody who studies a lot of the mind too, we store guilt subconsciously, and self-sabotage is literally the number one cause of self-sabotage is stored subconscious guilt. And I find it hard to believe that, even though we're desensitized and all these different things, we have some level of awareness that this stuff goes on. And
especially now.
Yeah, absolutely, especially now. Okay, so what would you say about somebody who says, because we hear this objection often, plants have feelings too. Plants scream when you rip them from the ground. Plants, what would you say about this?
I've never actually heard that happen. I've never heard a plant scream. I've got a flower here right now that I picked for my girlfriend. I didn't hear it scream. I listened. I'm like, oh, just giving a little wiggle, and didn't hear it. Do plants react to stimuli? Yes, they do. When the sun comes out, they open up, they move with the sun, they react to stimuli. So does a doorbell when you put an electric current through it. It goes bing. Doesn't mean that a doorbell is a sentient being, and it doesn't mean that a plant is a sentient being. As far as we know, they're not sentient beings. They don't have a brain. They don't have a central nervous system, which is the prerequisite, as far as we're aware, to
suffer.
Conceptually aware, to be sentient and to suffer. Yes, exactly. So as far as we know, plants do not actually feel pain, because that would be impossible without a central nervous system, or are perceptually aware of their own life. Even if plants did feel pain, let's say we agreed on that, and maybe, look, I don't deliberately kill plants, I mean, okay, that was a bad example with the flower that I picked. I did kind of do it. But here's the thing. That plant, those sunflowers, they're still going to grow. A new sunflower is going to take that one's place. If you rip a lamb's leg off, it's not growing back at all. That lamb's going to die. If I pick a flower, it'll just grow another one.
Absolutely. And can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
It's also like, it's funny because we hear this so often, right? Or I've heard this a lot from people, and it's like, well, just because you think that that's even a possibility, it still doesn't justify slaughtering something else. Like, oh. Okay,
no. Like, what do you think's worse, cutting a carrot in half or cutting a dog in half? Or a human? Humans are animals too. Yeah. What do you think's worse, cutting into the head of a lettuce or cutting into the head of an elephant? Yeah. What's the difference, an animal or a plant? Like, there's a big difference there. I hope that people can see the difference, because that scares me if you can't see the difference. Come on, man. It's a carrot and an elephant or any animal. There's a huge difference between what you're cutting into there. Now, let's say that we agreed and that plants were sentient beings who did feel pain and suffer. Mm-hmm. Then I would feel extremely bad for consuming them. I feel bad, but I would also feel like I have to do what I have to do. And maybe we could become breatharian one day, everybody. I don't know. I hope so. That would be awesome. I hate cooking and cleaning. It's annoying.
I've done a cool interview about that.
Oh, okay, cool. I've had some interesting conversations about it too. I don't know about that. Maybe not. I'm open to the possibility, sure. But currently, from what we are aware of, most of us believe, almost everyone agrees, that we have to consume some sort of external thing to live and thrive. Mm-hmm. Causing the least amount of harm possible is all that veganism strives to do. And we kill, like I already mentioned, over 6 to 12 times more plants to fatten up animals before we also kill those animals. So by such a long way, to cause the least amount of harm would be just to consume the plants. That way you don't also kill all the plants killed for the animals, as well as then killing the animals. You're just killing the plants. And is that perfect? Well, if you personally, yeah, I think it's perfect. Like, I don't think there's a problem with it. But if you agree that plants are sentient beings, okay, it's not perfect, but it's still causing the least amount of harm. It doesn't mean like, oh, I can't even.
And yeah.
It's like, oh, I can't stop killing plants. Might as well just kill everything then. Might as well just kill heaps of plants then, way more than I need to, and then murder billions of animals because I have to kill a little bit. So if we have to kill a little bit, might as well just kill everything. Like, what kind of logic is this? This isn't logic. That makes absolutely no sense. But one more thing. I love if people actually care, if they're actually being legitimate, which is rare. If they're being like, no, but the plants, it's like, whoa, I aspire to be at your level of compassion, where you even are like so compassionate about plants. You are going to be the best vegan because it's going to be easy for you to be compassionate for sentient beings if you're compassionate for plants. But most people bring that topic up just as a distraction.
Absolutely. Okay, and what about free range? What about people who are like, oh, free range is okay? Or tell us about this for a minute.
It's a really great question. Really great question. The problem is not how they're used. That's part of the problem. But the problem is that we think we have the right to use them at all, that we have the right to exploit them and take them at all. No, we don't have that right. That is wrong. That is slavery.
I was just going to say slavery. Absolutely.
It is. People get like charged up about that word, and I get it, but I'm sorry, I have to call it what it is because it's wrong to the victims not to do that. Yes. So now, even on the most free range facility, a lot of free range, I should add, the majority of free range, they've taken them out of a cage. Let's use eggs, for example. Mm-hmm. Let's use eggs. They've taken them out of a cage. Maybe there were 6 chickens, 7 chickens in this cage. Mm-hmm. It's a horrible situation. I've been in a lot of these facilities. And then they put them in a free range facility where it's one big cage with 30,000 chickens.
Wow. So free range can still just be a giant cage. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a nice environment.
No, there should be a small outside area. They don't even go out there, most of them. Do you think they're going to all take turns? And most of them never go out of that area. And that's, even the ones that can go out don't go out because they stay in their little spot.
Kind of stuck too. Like, I don't know. So I've seen different pictures and videos, and it's like there's so many squished into a tiny space. It's inhumane in and of itself, right?
Yeah, it is. There's all new types of suffering that occur in a free range facility. That is that type of free range, which is the majority of free range.
Yeah.
And that can be something like, the pecking order is a very real thing amongst chickens, how they develop their hierarchy. And trying to do that with 30,000 chickens is impossible. I've been in these places where they're fighting each other to death, and there's a lot more stress, and there's a lot of cruelties involved. Now, let's say though that it was this beautiful paddock, and it was like, whoa, that is the kind of life I'd want to live if I was one of these free range animals. They still end up at the slaughterhouse. They still end up getting the head cut off, getting decapitated. Sentient beings are getting decapitated so we can enjoy how their breasts taste, like zombies.
Yeah,
zombies, It's not okay. It's not okay. But it's beyond treatment, because we could get to a point where look how well they're treated before they're killed, and when they're killed, we just give them an injection and they go right to sleep. We're still murdering them. We're robbing them of their life. Murder is the worst thing, no matter how it's done. One of the worst things. And it's this idea of ownership. It's this idea that they're a number, and that's what we got to get over, that being humans, we're custodians of this planet. We're in a very special position that we can do so much good. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't be thinking that it's our right to own other. It was just the other day, almost. It was just the other year that people were slaves. I mean, they still are in many places around the world, but let's talk about in the USA. White people owned black people. They owned them and they treated them as slaves, and they forced them to do jobs for them, and they harmed them if they didn't, right?
Yeah.
And just because, and now we realize, right? We're like, whoa, the color, they did that because of the color of their skin. Yeah. Oh my God, how incredibly wrong. And people actually thought that was okay. And, it can get to the point where in these situations, same with when men believed they were superior to women, they couldn't vote and things like that. Mm-hmm. Some women believed as well, we're inferior, because just the cultural norm is saying, yes, this is
it's all conditioning. Yeah, absolutely. It's
conditioning. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And so I went on a tangent. What was I talking about? Oh, okay. And so owning animals is the same thing. Like, they are not ours. Their life is theirs to create their family and live their life. We shouldn't get to end their life when we've had enough. That's not right. If we bring them into this world, if we force them into this world, we have a moral obligation to take care of them, not to end their life. That is, they now let's say they're on this beautiful free-range farm. They now have a happy life. They're enjoying life, and you rob that from them. It's like the other side of the coin of killing an animal who's lived in a factory farm. Yeah, they suffered. It's almost like good. You're doing them a favor. You're putting them out of their misery. But for a sentient being who is happy on an actual free-range facility where they get a belly rub every day, and then you kill them, that's a cruelty of its own. That's a whole other cruelty. And you can't say, well, I bred them here. It's like, what about them? What about from the victim's point of view? You've got to look at this whole situation from the victim's point of view and ask yourself.
Absolutely. I love that comment too. Yeah.
And ask yourself, if I was in their situation, what would I want? Would I want to be murdered? Would I want my babies taken from me just so people can steal my milk? Like, no, the answer is always no. So anyway, so there is free range, but it means next to nothing for the animals. And at the end of the day, they all end up at a slaughterhouse getting killed. We shouldn't even have slaughterhouses, but the whole world is run by them. And if aliens were looking down, they'd call this place Planet Slaughterhouse. Yeah. That's what they call it. They call it the number one cause of death on this planet is murder.
What was the
cutting
terminology you used? What was when we were talking about Thanksgiving?
Death cult.
The death cult. Yeah, I like that. That because it gives perspective, right?
Look, if I'm honest, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, go ahead.
If I'm honest, the death cult thing, I was thinking, I was in a slaughterhouse about a week ago in Indonesia, and I was looking around, and when I started thinking about the death cult thing, I really started thinking, is this an actual conspiracy? Are there actual people conspiring, not just powerful industries that want some money? Are there actual powerful people conspiring to lower the frequency of humans? What a great way to do it, by feeding them products of torture and death. Yeah. And keeping us sick and destroying the planet. Are there just some very sick people, like leaders of this death cult, who are orchestrating this? And then I was like, no, you're being crazy, man. Like, it's just wealthy, powerful industries. But just the thought of it, honestly, it didn't even seem that far-fetched to me, because I just thought, this is just, everyone's involved. There's so much conditioning. There's so much dogma. It makes no sense. There's so much killing. Maybe, like, I don't know. It was just
it's interesting, like, from what I know, and I'm not an expert in this, but from what I know too, the same people who, it basically, like the American Sugar Alliance, the Dairy Association, the meat industry, all these different organizations are sponsoring a lot of the National Education Association, which is responsible for, and the American Medical Association, responsible for creating the content in textbooks for people to learn in med school, for what food is good and what food is bad. And it's interesting to really dig into some of that stuff.
It's so corrupt. It's so corrupt. Even the so the American Cancer Association, a couple of years back, the World Health Organization declared that processed meats like bacon is a carcinogen in the same category as asbestos and smoking cigarettes. Yeah. The American Cancer Association has processed meats in their recipe section. That's like going to a Lung Cancer Association page and their recommended activities smoking cigarettes. It's so corrupt. And they're often sponsored by dairy and meat and all this. And what a joke. What a joke. Like,
and
how corrupt is that?
Do we want to keep supporting that? Like, in my opinion, when I hear things like this too, it's like, we're not just supporting, the murdering, but you're supporting the corruption. You're supporting society to be functioned and rooted in doing these sorts of things. And by spending our money to do these things, we're supporting that. We're making that okay.
Totally. We are so powerful as consumers. They just want to make money. Yeah. They don't care if they're selling blueberries or they're selling bacon. Yeah. They just want to make money. Just put your money where your morals are, and be that, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to change. Every single person making small changes
World.
everything. Like, it's already happening now because so many people are jumping on board, and jump on board. There's a reason why so many people are saying that this is the best thing they've ever done. It's such an incredible thing to do.
Absolutely.
And and with the corruption and things like that, it makes it confusing for people. That's why so many people are confused about health. But there's so much information out there now. There's so many vegans thriving that are healthy and elite athletes and world record holding athletes, and there's really just you can't hide from it now, I don't think.
Absolutely. And I rarely hear that people go vegan and then they go back, right? I don't think I've met a vegan who says, yeah, oh, I just decided to start eating. I'm sure that happens, but really,
I don't hear about it often either, but it does happen.
Good. Yeah.
It does. But here's the thing. Some people don't feel good when they go vegan because they don't know what to eat. They just think, oh, I just have to eat salad now. There's no energy in salad. You need to eat. Like, you need to eat starchy carbohydrates. You need to eat like sweet, like a good meal, a good, healthy, easy, delicious, very cheap meal. You bake a sweet potato, and then you cut it in half, and you pour in some beans, and you chop up a bit of avocado. Boom, like, that's a delicious, easy meal. For breakfast, you have oats with blueberries and a bit of maple syrup. Maybe if you crush up walnuts, it's cheap, it's easy. For lunch, you could have like a curry, just like you'd already have an Indian curry, a chana masala, with chickpeas and some brown rice. That's delicious, easy. It can be so cheap. It can be so affordable. I wanted to say one thing that I've mentioned over and over and over that I haven't actually explained.
Addressed. Okay, good.
Yeah, and that's murder. Calling this murder. A lot of people will be like, "That's not murder. Murder is the deliberate killing of one human on another human." Yes, that is true by definition, and we should. The correct term by dictionary definition is slaughter when we're talking about murdering animals. But I use it because it's the same act. If we're just talking about the act, we're deliberately taking the life of someone who doesn't want to die. That's why there is no humane slaughter, because we're taking the life of somebody who doesn't want to die. And that is murder. Like,
and maybe the dictionary definition.
I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
Roll over our morals, right? Like,
no, because it's the action that matters. And if murder is slaughter is like, whatever, slaughter. Yeah, animals get slaughtered. But if the word murder means more to us, and it's the same act anyway, and I think it's important that we stop using words that are euphemisms like slaughter. I mean, slaughter's not necessarily that much of a euphemism, but it's still a word that's less loaded than the word murder for the same action that murder is. We say ham, we say bacon instead of
pig,
a pig corpse, cut up pig corpse, or whatever. Yeah. We say milk. We just call it milk instead of stolen breast milk or stolen baby cow growth formula. We use these words, and we should be more deliberate.
Help us to stay desensitized. Yeah,
they really do. They really do. Even earlier, when I heard myself say meat, I thought, I don't really want to say meat. It's flesh. It's flesh of a murdered being, and meat is just so chill and mundane and casual. But what it actually is, what meat actually is, man, it's like out of a horror movie. Absolutely. It's like out of a horror movie. You watch footage of a slaughterhouse, you tell me that doesn't look like a horror movie.
Slaughterhouses are always in horror movies, right?
The death camps in Germany, in Nazi Germany, were created by the format that they used in slaughterhouses. Wow. And that was like a horror movie too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to ask 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap up. This has been fantastic information. I really appreciate this. Okay, so let's say somebody is going down this path and they are really passionate and their heart's on fire and they're like, okay, how do I convert more people to become vegan?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we approach this? I saw in one of your speech with 30 million views now, I was really touched by the fact that you were like, okay, we don't want to go and be sort of like, again, fight the problem. We want to go and we want to educate people and bring awareness and be part of the solution in a kind way. And so how do you recommend doing this?
Yeah. Okay. Let me just make a point about that. I am no one's enemy. You know, even a dairy farmer, even a slaughterhouse worker. Don't mistake my passion for anger towards
Absolutely.
anybody.
Absolutely.
I don't have it. I don't have it. It's all love. It's all love. And that's how I think we need to spread this message, with love and compassion. It's the most powerful force. Martin Luther King said, love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. And he also said that the means we use must be as pure as the ends we seek. And that's what we want. We want this compassionate world where everybody respects each other, and that goes beyond the species barrier.
Absolutely.
So if you want a world like that, you need to model that behavior. To do that, I think the best way is to educate and encourage and inspire. Learn the facts. I don't know that much. I really don't. There's so many facts I wish I could have told you then that I had to cut out because I wasn't 100% sure of it and I didn't want to get it wrong. There's countless more to learn. And if you can just get educated on the topic, you don't have to. I used to look at people who can say it like I do and think, well, I'd never be able to do that. But you just grow and you just keep growing. You just keep learning. You know, look up the answer. You can go to animal-rights, so animal-rights.com, and then it's a FAQ of 100 questions. There's so much online.
We'll
and
put
if
some
you
of
just
these too. We'll put these in the
great idea.
bottom here if you're looking. Yeah, absolutely.
If you get educated, you will be so powerful, because the problem is that people believe lies. They have a long list of objections.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to learn the answer to each objection and cross it off their list till they get to the point where they're like, okay, veganism is making way more sense than I was expecting. Maybe I should try this. That is one thing you can do. So that's the first thing I think everyone should do. Get educated so that you're not stressing out when someone asks you, why'd you go vegan? And you're like, oh, I don't know. And people freak out. It's like, I'm vegan because I'm against animal cruelty, and all animal products come with violence, torture, and murder of these innocent sentient beings, and we can live and thrive without doing so. It's better for our health and better for the planet, and the right thing to do. But so when you get educated, number one. Number two, you can get out there and do it. I think social media is the best thing to do. You can create videos or content, tag your meal on social media, tag a footage of a slaughterhouse on social media, tag a vegan athlete on social media. Just a fact about the environment. It doesn't always have to be doom and gloom, cruelty, violence, decapitation.
Absolutely.
It can be. If you want to do that,
that's really powerful, right? Yeah.
My suggestion would be, if you're just sending this off to your friends and family, they're going to tune out real quick.
Yeah.
So be like, positive vegan message. Look at this cute animal. Look at this delicious vegan meal. Slaughterhouse. Oh, and like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. It's like, oh, don't worry. Here's another delicious meal. Here's my pancakes from yesterday. Look, just sneak it in there. But because it's important that they see it, but also you got to be strategic, and people don't want to see that all the time. It's just depressing. People, we all got our own problems as well. Can I just make a point on that as well, that being vegan doesn't take any more effort out of your day. You're still going to have breakfast, have a vegan breakfast. You're still going to put on clothes, put on vegan clothing. You're still going to go fight for women's rights or whatever it is you want to fight for. Mm-hmm. Cool. You can go do all that. You don't have to be a vegan activist. You don't have to whatever. But this is by far the largest form of oppression with the most amount of victims out of any ever in history by billions.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you can join groups. There's so many groups online. I've just started a group actually online called Vegan Activists Worldwide. If you want some tips on how to be an activist, you can come there.
Activists Worldwide.
Yeah, it's a Facebook group. You can go to Anonymous for the Voiceless. They do a thing called Cube of Truth, where they wear the Guy Fawkes mask and they stand in a square pointing outwards, holding slaughterhouse footage on laptops, and just in the middle of a busy city. And then people come past, and there's other people who are doing outreach. Hey, have you ever seen footage like this before? This is standard legal practice of what we do to animals in Australia. Do you know about veganism? Do you know we can live and thrive without consuming any animal products, etc., etc.? And there's another thing called the Save Movement, which I'm very fond of, because that's really, it's the sweet spot. The slaughterhouse footage is intense, and people often will just click away. The cute animal at the sanctuary is a bit too cute. But if you can be at front of a slaughterhouse when these animals come in on these trucks, and you get footage and you film it and they connect, this is a pig. Like, this pig is about to go into that gas chamber and then be chopped up into pig. Yeah, so we it's all over the world, the Save Movement it's called, and we get out front of slaughterhouses and we take footage of these animals in their last moments, and we connect with them, give them maybe the only bit of love they've ever had, then they go into the slaughterhouse, and people will watch that. It's powerful. There's so much you can do. There's so much. You don't have to do anything like that. You could just start doing vegan recipes. You know, you could break the stereotype that vegans are weak and be a vegan world record holding strongman. The world record holding strongman right now is a vegan. He's a vegan. World record holding ultra marathon is a vegan. World champion arm wrestler is a vegan.
Wow.
UFC fighters, footballers, yeah, like so. You could do that. You could just break. You know, think about the objections that people have and think, which one would I be good at getting through? I'm no expert chef. I'm no expert chef. I'm not going to try to convert people with my food. It's going to be a mistake. They're going to look like sometimes I do pretty wicked food, but for the most part, I couldn't be bothered. I just keep it simple and keep it chill, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
But if you like cooking or baking, you can bake delicious vegan food and show people, look how easy this is. Here's the recipe. If you're gonna bake a cake anyway, why not bake a vegan one instead of putting hand menstruation in there and baby cow growth fluid stolen from a mother that caused both their deaths? You could just put in half a banana or a tablespoon of water with some chia seeds and make the same type of binding texture that you would get from the egg. Like, we don't need, why we want our cake to have egg in it? Like, eggs? This is crazy. But anyway, it's very normal. So yeah, you can do activism in whatever way. The point, though, the bottom line should be, and this is why you should be vegan. That's what it should. It shouldn't be, this is why you should be vegetarian. No, we shouldn't be vegetarian. We shouldn't be anything less than vegan. Vegan is the moral baseline. That's where we should start. All it is not harming others. That should be the stock standard starting point for everybody. Do as least harm to others as practically possible. That's all veganism is. Anything less, vegetarianism, free range, humanely slaughtered, that is not good enough. And I'm not saying you have to go vegan right now. Yeah. But I hope you do. And if you can't right now, please do it real soon, because so much suffering is happening because when we are not vegan.
Absolutely. And I just want to reiterate what you said. I love that you said just go through the list of objections, see which one you're going to be best at sort of disproving, and start there. Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice.
Okay, I want to say one more thing if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to go a little bit deeper on what we talked about earlier. Do it from a place of love. Maybe you'll get angry when you go vegan and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, there's so much more suffering and killing happening on this world than I'd ever really cared about before. And then you go to a supermarket and you see the morgue section, all the dead bodies, and you think about animals that you've connected with that were very much like these animals that have been killed, and you're like, it can be depressing. At times, it really can. It can be tough. To be a vegan in a not yet vegan world can be tough at times. Yeah. It's worth it by a million, but it can be. And don't let that anger fuel your action. You can use it, you can point it to help you do something constructive, give you energy. Yeah. But really, I strongly recommend coming from a place of love. Think about it like this. Who wants to come to a party full of people that are angry and aggressive and annoying and preachy and judgmental? Okay. Nobody. But that is the vibe that people think that vegans are, because a few vegans ruin it for the rest of us by being like,
and that's them, that's their suffering, right? They see that and they're like, wow, this is so painful to see, and like I have to stop, I have to do things. It's still coming from a beautiful, like really good natured space.
And they're not wrong. Absolutely. They are totally entitled to their anger and frustration when they're telling people you're contributing to murder, and they're like, but bacon though. Like, they're entitled to be angry. But what I'm saying is, like, it has definitely negatively impacted the society's view of vegans. People think of vegans and they think angry, aggressive, annoying, judgmental, preachy. Mm-hmm. No one wants to join that group. I wouldn't want to join that group. I didn't know about that stereotype when I went vegan. I didn't know about any of that. If you are peaceful, welcoming, compassionate, happy, healthy, what's that word? Open to having a chat, receptive, like that, people will want to come here. Absolutely. They'll feel okay. We can ask a question. Yeah, we can ask them a question. They're not going to bite our head off. They're just going to be helpful and help us move in that direction. And the vast majority of vegans will do that. So many people comment on my post and like, oh, don't hate me, don't bite my head off. I just got a question. It's like, No worries. What's your
Coming
question?
from a place of love.
Oh yeah, free range. Yeah, look, this is the answer. Hey, good luck, man. Keep moving.
Yeah.
That's most people. They
Thank
like.
you for your
They think
question.
we're gonna bite the head off, and a couple will, but the vast majority of us just want peace. We just want peace.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying too, like you want peace, try to give put that peaceful vibe out so and I in my experience with all different sorts of situations, that's how change really happens. And I think that's a super important point for today, to help
Yeah.
people spread this message exponentially and to help things change a lot more quickly.
Yeah, just like being vegan is better for our health, better for the planet, better for the animals. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just so obviously right.
Yes.
Spreading the message from a place of love and compassion is not just better for them, not just better for the people receiving it. It's so much better for us. We don't have to generate sensations of hostility or negativity
Absolutely.
that hurt us as well. And that is, for me, that's proof. It's like, this is helping, not harming me. This is the right way to do this as well. And but really, the reason I do it is because I've seen it work so much better. It has such a more far-reaching, lasting, positive impact. That's in my opinion. Every now and then, you need to slap someone across the face with the vegan message, like real harsh. You
Wake
have
up.
every now and then. Yeah, like girl. But the majority of people, just like me and you, and they didn't know any better, and then they just needed explained and shown, and like, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, I agree with what you said.
Absolutely. There's this quote I love from A Course in Miracles, and it says, "Whatever happens through you happens to you first." And it's sort of like whatever I'm putting out into the world, I'm first experiencing. If I'm angry, I'm suffering from anger. And
Totally.
it's nice to tune into that. Yeah. Okay, so
No,
last
absolutely.
question for the day.
Cool.
What do you have coming up next, and where can people stay connected to you and the work that you're doing?
Okay, tomorrow I fly to Miami. I'm in Sydney right now. I just got back from Indonesia.
Wow.
I'm on a 10-day cruise where I'm doing a couple of speeches. It's just like a wellness cruise, and that's going to Barbados and somewhere. So that's going to be so good because I just did my scuba diving certificate. So I'm so excited to get under the water with all the fish. Like I've never really been close to fish. They're so beautiful. They're so colorful, and they look you in the eyes. Like, it was very cool. All right, so I got that. Then I'm going to Israel. I've got a 3-week tour in Israel. I'm talking at a whole bunch of universities and things like that.
Fantastic.
And then after that, where am I going? There's a tour in Australia I'm doing with a documentary called Dominion, which everyone should watch when it comes out. It'll be out in April. It is like the Australian version of Earthlings. It's going to show all the things we do in Australia. It'll be very good footage, like 4K camera, drone footage. It's going to be incredible. For the rest of the year, I'm going all over. I'm going to Norway. I'm going to the UK. I'm going to, I haven't really looked for a while. I don't know, like all over. The whole year's booked out. And I'm just doing speeches. I'm doing the type of activism that I explained earlier. And I post every day on social media. I do videos and just posts and Insta stories, just trying to
stay connected and spread the word.
Yeah, exactly. So on my social media stuff, it's just all under my name, James Aspey, Aspey, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And that's how you can. If you want to email me about something, there's a possibility I will return your email. Just do it if it's really important. You can't find the answer on Google. And my email is peace@jamesaspey.com.au.
Beautiful. And your website, what's your personal website?
My website really sucks, but it's jamesaspey.com.au.
Okay, beautiful.
It's just like ugly.
The work is beautiful, so the website,
Thanks.
Right?
Hopefully that speaks badly.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and for being who you are. Thank you for all of it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think that, Einstein had a good quote. He said, "Those who have the privilege to know have the duty to act." And I just feel like it's a duty of mine to get out there and do this. I'm so privileged. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. The least that anyone in a similar situation, I believe, can do is to help those who are in a very bad situation. And there's so many of them on this planet right now. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thank you for having me on this podcast. I love all the work you guys do. You're one of my favorite pages to follow. So yeah, thank you so much for putting out all that great content.
Thank you so much. Thank you.